Excellent. So I've got a great guest with me today, Suzanne from ResiCentral. I'll get you to introduce yourself in a moment, Suzanne, but just as a brief introduction from me, I'm Alex Wiffen. I'm the founder of Redefined Futures, which is a talent consultancy that partners with impact-driven, innovative businesses to align people, culture, leadership. Basically, we transform talent strategy from a transactional task into a powerful strategic advantage to fundamentally drive the growth of the businesses we work with. That's the idea. So just before we get into it, I do want to make people aware of the real cost of recruitment calculator I've created. So it's a great place to start for business leaders out there, just to understand what is the real cost of recruitment. So, often people consider the external cost of recruitment spend or the internal time it takes, but what's the cost of an empty seat? What's the cost of the ramp up time, the lost productivity, attrition, the impact of high, low performers, that sort of stuff. So that's all in the calculator. If you go to redefinefutures.com, you can download your own version, put in your own stats and figure out what it looks like for you. But that's my little plug for that. So let's get into this, AI and its impact in the built environment. So Suzanne, do you want to just give us a quick introduction for you and ResiCentral, where it fits into the real estate ecosystem, and give us a little rundown?
Well, good morning, Alex, and a pleasure to be with you on this sunny Friday. For those who don't know me, I'm Suzanne Luscombe. I've spent the last 23 years in the real estate sector, either working for private developers, a number of housing associations, but over the last 3 years, really in that kind of SaaS space and tech, which has been a massive eye-opener actually on how things have massively advanced, all in a really positive way. And I guess what the future living space is really becoming within real estate. So in terms of ResiCentral, we are very much a green tech solution, therefore some kind of environmental monitoring, which is really great to actually understand how your buildings are performing, which is cause of concern at the minute. There's a lot of developers out there who've got these wonderful buildings, but what was happening is that during the build process, a lot of things weren't taken into account, whereas this whole kind of emphasis on carbon neutral. But the other side to it is not just how things are built, it's actually how they're lived in. And with the best will in the world, we can go out there with this really great intention that we're going to build really kind of net zero, and we're going to develop all these wonderful things for our resident. But the problem is it's how it's actually used when people live there. Yeah. So what we've really focused our tech on, it's massive, right? You can do a load of good work, but somebody could actually move into a property and not use it in a sustainable way at all, and actually it kind of erodes all the good work. So the piece of technology that we focus on, which is known as the Resi Air, we're very much about being able to monitor those environments, but also for us is create instant impact off the back of it. So taking some certain calculations which tell us about how the building's performing, but also there where we can make changes. And one of the major parts is actually their utility management, because right now, not only are the cost of utilities going through the roof, we know that, but actually it's the conservation piece, especially around kind of water. People, always didn't think about water, it was always gas and electric, but actually now...
Yeah, I've seen some reports that the water bills are going to be huge in the years to come. So
just because we're not looking after the waterways, and the problem is there isn't enough water to go around, so to speak, and it's how it's being used. And do we understand how wasteful we're being? Same with electricity, same with gas. So what we're doing is smart automation. So based on some of these figures coming back, actually, how can we make sure that a building actually is as sustainable as possible? So not only to reduce bills for those living within it, but also give those performance stats for those builders. They actually know what works, what doesn't, and what environmental changes could actually have a better and greater impact on the residents living there. But I will leave that there because I could go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, well, it's really good to get an understanding there of ResiCentral and the impact it's having in that respect. But I suppose talking about AI and that side of things, I mean, how do you see the current state of AI adoption in real estate, and maybe what other opportunities do you see?
The first word which comes to mind is slow.
Often said within the real estate, right? The built environment. Yeah.
The reason I think behind it is that real estate is very traditional. And actually, if you look at real estate in every aspect, even down to the high street agent, right? Actually, things have evolved. You've got Rightmove, how many people really walk through the agent stores now, right? Everything's on Rightmove. But there is this tendency that we still are very bedded in our traditional approaches, which I do think need to be there, right? Because this is very much an emotion-led process. Real estate, generally speaking, is. So I would say the adoption has been slow, and that's through fear. And probably like most industries, people are fearful that once AI comes in, it completely erodes the needs for human beings and that element. But actually, I think you can turn it on its head. And for me, the AI piece in real estate is actually the AI being taught by the experts. And what we're really lucky to have is in the UK, a really good backdrop of some amazing architects, some amazing kind of builders out there, and everybody with these great visions. And I think it's actually how we can bring AI in to enhance the vision and polish it rather than to replace it. So at the minute, slow is the word, probably through fear, Alex, if I'm being honest.
Definitely. And it's interesting as we sort of get to grips with it more, and the generative AI obviously is the bit that's really gone, wow, look what I can do with ChatGPT or Copilot, whatever. But you start to, you can see a lot of over-reliance on it. And actually, and I wonder when you think about, I see it now with people using it for, a friend of mine works in transport planning actually. And he was saying they got a senior level guy who's come in to support the business, and he's loves the AI, loves the ChatGPT, and he's sending out recommendations to some of his proposals. And he was like, that's not actually legal what you've just requested there. That we can't do that because that's not right. But he recognizes that the guys put it into ChatGPT, asked for some response, and he hasn't checked it. And I worry that, not naming any names certainly, but you worry about that in the broader sense, in the for the built environment, in terms of building and that sort of stuff. Over reliance on AI, people think, oh, it just do it for me, and they're trusting it when actually it hasn't been trained, you haven't checked it, and maybe the people checking it aren't up to speed either. So who's doing that checking? And there definitely feels like some risks there. Oh, I've lost your sound, Suzanne.
Am I back?
Oh, you're back. Yeah.
There I am. I think that is where companies need to be super, super careful. And I was recently on a panel and we were talking about actually AI strategies and AI policies. And this is something that every company needs to start bringing in, not for the sake of a policy for a policy, but understanding who's asking what of AI and where that information pieces come from. Because at the end of the day, and I joke about this, but AI is all about learnt behaviours, right? So call it that we are the teachers of AI right now, when we're all having a little fiddle around and we're asking it questions. And also it's the fact that it's a bit like the short-term rental market. Everyone calls it Airbnb. When you talk AI, they all call it ChatGPT, right? And it's only because certain platforms have risen so quickly that that's where everybody is drawn to. But the problem that you've got is a bit like if you ever Google something on the news page. So if a headline comes out and you go to type it in, instantly it comes up with a statement, because probably millions of people have all asked the same question, right? But the difference is with AI that all the people asking the questions are then pulling on millions of different answers, depending on then who the back end of it has put information into it. So i.e., when you talk about these certain individuals, they could have said, right, write me a policy or write me a white paper on this. They put all this information in and then said, polish it for me. Ta-da! Somebody else then, who's non-related, has asked the question about this business, and it's gone, hold on a sec, when the cogs are whirling, and it's gone, oh, actually, something's been put in about this, and it pulls it straight out. And this is the danger with AI, because you are reliant on it giving you a wonderful answer, but what you don't know if it's true. So when you talk about building policy, when you talk about regulations, you talk about checks, all these things are changing daily. But what AI doesn't work on and can't is fact. And that's the danger part, right? Because you're asking it a question, And the thing is, if I was to write a load of stuff about you, Alex, on AI, which I could do as a bit of a test piece, but nice stuff, right? I wrote
Yeah.
about your business and he's fantastic. If someone then used it as Google, which a lot of people are now, right? It's amazing how that Google piece has gone into AI. What could come back if I'd written really nicely about you? It would be what I'd put in, because that's how it works, how it's trained. So I think that you have to be super careful now that AI doesn't become the knowledge fountain without the checkout. And when I came back to that piece a few minutes ago about real estate and how we've got these wonderful people in the industry who are old school, they've got all that knowledge. And so it's super important those people are part of that process, Alex, because otherwise, before you know it, you've got all these wild ideas which are being put out there. And then actually everybody's at risk of, number one, being sued, right? And also being copied, because once something's out there, we know, like with real estate, we know with lending, one bank does one change, they do another. You almost get a domino effect. And I think, I don't know about you, I don't know what you've seen, but from my perspective, once one does something on AI, the next stuff, and it becomes a bit of a craze. But I
Yeah,
don't know,
totally.
I
We're
think
up the
that
hype cycle, as they say. Yeah.
it's a dangerous craze, I think AI is, if it's not managed.
I think, yeah, definitely. And like the magic sort of bullet, almost, it feels like, is the part of the hype cycle, isn't it? You're like, oh wow, it's amazing, it's going to fix everything. And I certainly felt the same way. Like, you ask it some questions, like, wow, this is amazing, But then actually, I use it a lot, and I was using it to help me, pull together my masterclass I'm going to be releasing next month. And as I was doing it, I was thinking, well, does this have any value? Couldn't someone else just do this, and then they don't have to, come and use my expertise? But then as I was doing it, you start going, well, that's not right. That's not right. No, chat, that's not right. And actually, as you go through it, you go, okay, it produces something that can be, to the layman, looks credible and believable.
Yep.
But to the expert, you go, well, no, hang on a minute. No, that's just your best guess or whatever. So you start to see the limitations. So it's a really good tool to, to boost productivity, definitely. But you 100% need the knowledge behind it, because there's a real temptation, especially for the layman, or in anything, to go, oh, right, that sounds great, I'm going to trust that and run with it. And 90% of it might be accurate, but then there's 10% that's 100% wrong, and will, like you say, open you to being sued or whatever. So
It's
or just
also about being authentic,
misinformation.
right? Because authenticity is about real estate and brands, right? And if you name certain brands, which I won't do, to incriminate anybody particularly, but if you say to people certain brands in real estate, they have got an opinion tied to those brands, right? And that might be as simple as, oh, actually, that's a slightly more budget brand, or that's the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
And one of the huge parts, especially within sales and marketing of real estate, is your proposition and your value add to the client, and what you're trying to get out there. And one of the things I think we have to be super careful about in real estate right now is that if everybody's asking the same question against their brand, all it will do is give the same answer across brands. So rather than everybody going, well, I knew that it was that brand, because of course they'd only have the creme de la creme of the way. It won't, because what it does is it's not biased. It gives it to everybody, right? And anybody, AI, it treats everybody as equal. Now that is super dangerous, right? Because if we're all treated equally, but across a generalization, you all end up actually starting to lose who you are as a business.
Everything
You
goes
lose your
vanilla.
brand. Of course it does, but nobody realizes, right? Because what they do is the vanilla is painted blue to do with that brochure, or red on that one.
Yeah.
You ask it then to be something else, but the thing which is really missing is the emotion behind it. And I'm a big advocate of AI. I think it can do really incredible things, right? Like the other day, I learned that there's a particular AI tool that can be used for market research, right? And I thought, oh my God, that's amazing, actually. I think the hours of sales teams sitting on sites and trying to get information, but actually, if it's used correctly, even down to kind of valuations, price increases in an area, if you can put in the right information, right, and then you converse it with all the different developers in an area, you can put it together in the right way. But I think at the moment, everybody is kind of funneling weirdly through ChatGPT, right? They haven't quite realised that there's more specialist AI models that can be used. And I think it's just picking, and I want to just pick up on the value piece you said earlier, because as you said, you could have written something and gone, well, hold on, if anybody could have done that. But the difference is you, Alex. You are the value piece in your business, right? It's not AI, it's not what you write, it's not even how you speak, it's your knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And that's the piece that you need to get out, and also using it in a way that you're teaching people or helping them explore a brand or see something differently that they would have never come across themselves, right? Because right now people are using AI for things that they hate, right? So I love this one. So I get bombarded with sequence emails all the time, right? And I think, oh God. And the other day it was so tempting to do a sequence email. And I'm like, well, hold on. If everybody's now writing a sequence email in AI, all along the same things, right? Actually, are we now spamming? Are we all spamming people with the same? But what makes me authentic actually is probably that more personal email, me saying something about the person that I individually knew. So I think it's about the value proposition behind it, but also not using it for daily tasks, right? Because actually, we do all need to be able to spell and read and know our subject matter, right? We do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have the fear for my children that if AI takes over, they probably won't even type anymore, right? They'll probably just speak
Just
to
speak
it.
it. Exactly. Well, yeah, it's true. I'm
And
not
that's
so
a bit
sure.
scary.
I'm not so sure about the written language and all that sort of stuff. You know, if AI can do it for you, then great. But I do
Where's the
think,
personality?
but I do think, no, I do like correcting grammar and spellings and that sort of stuff. At least it helps you out, right? But the voice is key. I totally agree with you with that. You know, especially when it comes to marketing, comes to sales, so it's like the expertise. Do you actually have the knowledge, and you really do know what you're talking about, the subject matter? That's key, because you need to know these things that you're delivering, and then your tone of voice. And I think it's even, and anything human, any emotive thing, like you say, exactly what you were saying there, Suzanne. It's also, yeah, so the tone of voice, the emotion, and that particularly in that there's so much extra noise now, because you can generate more stuff more quickly and more of it, but everyone's doing it, so it's just like noise, and I mean, I've been guilty of it, so yeah.
But we're learning now,
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
this is the crucial part to it. This is evolution. This was always going to happen, and I don't know why everybody's so surprised, right? It's a bit like, oh my gosh, when I go into Tesco's now, it's self-service. Well, that was always going to happen, right? Like all of these things, and I joke about digital photography, right? Photography was once, and I say this because my father was a photographer, it was once a skill. It was once something you actually went to college and you trained for and you learnt
Yeah,
it. And then the digital camera came out and we all became photographers, right? And, I think what people haven't spent the time doing is actually relating it to other things which have moved forward, right? They just haven't at all. Even the car, right? I get in my car now, I don't put a key in, I don't turn that, I don't turn the lights on, I don't turn on the windscreen wipers, right? Everything's moved forward and AI is part of that. But I
totally.
think with real estate, because of what it is and who you're selling it to, there's an emotional attachment, and we just have to be really careful that we are not trying to make something sound or be like a brand, when actually whoever created that business at the beginning, they had a vision, they had a mission, they had a value behind it, that still is the forefront of everything they do.
It might be the opportunity for, you will see brands really stand out because of that, because of all the noise. That real human interaction will be recognized, and then we do see it. You see it in all the posts that you see on social media and emails that you get sent.
The Zeds, when you
Yeah,
know it's because of
Zeds
AI.
and loads of emojis at the beginning of things, and all loads of different ones, and Aptos typeface or whatever it is that
Yeah.
you copy and pasted. You're like, oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, I know you've just done that on AI, or ChatGPT. Thanks very much for that. So I think we're also getting very wise to it. So that's interesting. But you mentioned before, Suzanne, like a cool app that was doing the market appraisals, or what other AI sort of applications have you come across in the built environment in real estate that you are sort of have gone, wow, that's cool?
So the first one was the market research, which I thought was incredible, actually something aimed at it. The other one, which I really like, which I need to play around with, which I think can be a bit of a game changer, is actually the visual part. So I don't know if you've seen a lot of this recently on like Instagram and other things where it's like, I asked my wife three years ago to design my living room. I asked AI and it took 20 seconds. Um, and actually, it will be really interesting to see how that evolves. And it will not take the place of interior designers, right? And I have to be very, very crucial on that because there is a certain way things are laid out. There's certain colours you use in certain rooms, there's certain textures. Again, the emotional stuff, right? We know that blue is a cool colour, it can make people feel cold. We know that red on walls can make people feel angry. All of these things AI can't do. And I have to always bring it back to the emotion. But what I think is really incredible is that we started using, or certainly when I worked at Berkeley Homes in Telford, people come into the marketing suite and you put the kind of goggles on and you walk through the building 3D. It's the advancement of that. And I think that people really lack, especially in real estate when you're buying off plan, right? That's often the fear. I can't see it, I can't touch it, I can't feel it. But actually, how that could further progress. And I think if people kind of could feel their attachment to a property, almost if it took into account their personal preferences,
We could
and
design it almost. You go like,
yeah, like your
what?
favorite color palette or what you'd
Yeah,
have then.
yeah.
A lot of
You could
people,
do that. I bet you could do that. Like off you put your Facebook, like tag, you name it in or whatever, or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Put those in, and it will look at it and go, okay, we know what you like. You like all this sort of stuff. Here's a house that you'll. This is how you
this
decorated,
is the
just like
dream.
this is what you. Yeah, this is your dream. Here you go, and you
No,
put the
if it isn't
goggles
already
on,
out there, how
and
do
you'll
I
be like,
see in a circle?
wow,
How do I copyright all this right now? But this is
yeah,
this is where I think from an external perspective, because I think as a business, we always think to ourselves, how can we use AI to make things better internally? Whereas kind of my take on this is actually when it comes to real estate or even commercial, the end product's being sold on, right? So it's actually how do you use it to
yeah.
capture people back the other way?
Mm.
And I think there can be some really clever ways of doing it. I watched a program the other day. This is slightly off piece. And on it, bizarrely, or not a program, it was a series on something. And they used a dating app that worked on people's music preferences, right?
Oh yeah,
And I thought, actually, that's quite clever. Now, I don't actually know if this app's real.
yeah.
Happily married, not on dating apps. But it did make me think about how, AI, if it can be that intuitive on certain things, how visually, and we are visual people in life, right? Seeing is believing. And I think it sounds silly, that's why people like to take a brochure out the show home.
Mm.
They look at things on the web, but they like to hold something, they like
Oh yeah,
to see
definitely.
through it. So that's where I think I've seen a few of them, but I can see that kind of almost becoming, I'm not saying overnight, something that you could almost walk into a marketing suite and it'd be used to actually personalize something for them.
That would be cool. That would be cool. Next question, Suzanne, is about the jobs and impact on a lot of people have said about, AI is taking our jobs. Jobs are under threat. What impact do you think AI will have on roles within the built environment as a whole?
I think that at first it has got the capacity to damage businesses through naivety of staff replacement. I think that it's very easy to say, well, look, AI did that in 5 minutes and it's taking you 3 hours. But these people that you employ them for their, hopefully, this should be the kind of semi 50-50. You employ them for their skill set, but also their personality, right?
Mhm.
Now, you could have two people with identical skill sets and very different personalities, and the way then they deliver their work or even get on with clients will be completely different, right?
Mm.
Either people will clash with them or they will love them. And when you are in recruitment, from my perspective, when hopefully I'll be coming to you in the next few months. For me, it won't just be the skill set, it'll be the personality set, right?
Mm.
Because of what we're doing and the time and the patience and the understanding behind that. So I think that there is a naivety with businesses to get rid of people or to cut costs. but they don't realise actually what cost it is to the business. And I think there are some brilliant tools out there that if the team were to use it, would allow them to free up time to do other things.
Yeah,
So I
more
think that's great.
productivity. Yeah.
And that's what you want, right? Admin, let's be honest, especially in sales and marketing, people, probably apart from me, who actually I'm pretty good at admin. How sad is that? I run everything, even in our home. But if you could use it, that you've got amazing salespeople who are out there selling, or even tech services, and that's the ability. And AI has the ability then to do the admin behind the scenes, so they can focus on actually what's going to bring the value to the business. Excellent. I think the problem is it's not being used in a strategic way. I think that it's being used as well. If I know it can do that, but back to that whole thing again, who's checking that? Right? Who is in that kind of process to say what has been delivered is correct, but who is also making sure it's authentic, right? Because you almost need to do, and this will be blowing brains, you almost need to do market research on what AI your competitors are using, right? Because
Definitely.
actually, if you think you've come up with this amazing idea because you've asked like this wonderful AI tool,
Yeah.
and you're like, this is the
It's
most
been told to
amazing thing,
everyone. Yeah.
can you imagine? Everybody's done the same thing. And it'll be interesting, I think, Alex, for tenders, really interesting, because I would have thought there, and I know there are some more newer tech out there in terms of tenders. Tenders are a nightmare. We know they're time consuming. They're there for a reason. But it'll be interesting to see, actually, where the tender processes go. Because can you imagine all of these agents come in with all their proposals, and they're all roughly
All
the same,
identical.
right?
Yeah.
But just different branded. But this is where I think you could then take out the human out of the job and go, well, actually, I can put that through AI. You get rid of the person, but actually, then the way it's presented, the actually authentic idea behind it is also gone. So that's really my approach on it with the people. Don't be naive to
Yeah.
get rid of good people or cut costs on something that you haven't been able to teach properly to staff.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's about adding productivity rather than cutting costs. I mean, there probably there may well be with any technological revolution, something new like this that's so impactful. Jobs change.
Of course they do.
Maybe there's different, and some jobs probably will be affected, right? But it really, I think it's about empowering people to do more of what they can do. It's a bit like you talk about the interior design or graphic designers. In some respects, if you really want something great done, you want graphic designers do it properly and have someone to do it. But if I want to put out some stuff onto social media that's going to be seen for a second, I'd rather just get AI to do that quickly for me, or knock it up. Something that's throwaway, has a little value, but you want it out there, then you use it. But I wouldn't have employed a graphic designer to do that for me before. So I'm just doing stuff that I would have. Do you know what I mean?
But you know the importance behind it, right? Yeah. And I think that's understanding the value piece, right? And I always talk about value exchange, right? Understanding. Exactly. If you need to get a post out, we know that a pitch is always engagement, right?
Yeah.
I was away the other day in Scotland, and I thought, do I post the conference pictures that everybody else would, or actually do I ask AI to do something to do with energy management and the Loch Ness monster?
Yeah.
And I chose that route, right?
Jazz it up a bit. Exactly. Do something a bit different.
Just because actually probably getting more engagement. Now, I knew that wouldn't affect the value proposition of what I was putting out there. But where I think it will be really interesting, and I've asked, through my work, I actually would like to do a course in AI. I would actually like to become a bit of a pro at it. And the reason behind it is I think
now's the time to do it.
Well, massively, but also I think people are going to have to put it in their budget, Alex, because if you're saying to somebody, "Oh, have you been on your Word Excel course, and have you done this, and have you trained in that?" Well, hold on a second. Why is nobody having an emphasis on AI training, right? So if you've got a business analyst department of people, right, what you want to do is use the best piece of AI to do that work, right? So what you need to do is get somebody in to teach these people, because that is the missing part in AI right now. Nobody is a teacher. We're all teaching ourselves.
Now, exactly. It moves so quickly as well, doesn't it?
So it's scary. Not only are we teaching ourselves, Alex, we are teaching AI, right? The double-edged sword. So everything we put in is what then it will churn out to somebody else. And what I would really love to see is and you'd be a pro at this, is people actually looking at the recruitment pieces in bringing in almost an AI advisor into their business, bringing in somebody who could teach people AI. So the safety behind it, the actual real value adds of AI, but actually
Yeah.
how you use it, right? And how you
Mhm.
advance through it. Not us all just having a little tinkle, because that doesn't really work.
No.
That was my idea, Alex. So when you steal it,
Well, it is. There's not many people out there that can do that either.
right.
But I do think that is a massive growth area. That will be a huge. There's new roles now like prompt engineer. Just you're
Yep.
writing the prompts to get the best out of AI, so you're getting more accurate information and everything else. So there will be a massive evolution. A revolution of roles and things, and that how that changes, and I bet there will be exactly that. You're the head of AI or whatever in every
You do.
business. Your chief AI officer.
And then it will come in because there is too much risk involved, right?
Mm.
And where you have
And
got
it's so
risk,
impactful across every aspect
everything.
of your
And I
life,
think
of your
this is
business.
so huge. And the only thing I can relate it to is digital photography, just
Mm,
because the whole world generally uses a phone and they take photos, right?
mm.
Now, there's a danger. We know that we take photos of the wrong things, or everything can be recorded, everything can be taken a photo of, and how
Yeah, I feel
wild
sorry
that
for the
goes.
kids of today. Yeah.
Everything, right? So if you think AI, in theory, can be perceived as a benefit across everything, you will end up having people who need to be trained. They'll come in, they'll be a head of AI, everything will go through them, there'll be training involved. And already my MD said, yep, get yourself on some AI classes. And I think it's great because the work that we're doing, I want to be able to take this environmental information, and right now we know how it works, we know the factors, but actually to report back, right? So actually these businesses and banks know their performance, but it's getting it right, Alex. And that's the
Mhm.
key to what I think is the fundamental part of it. It's getting AI right,
Yeah.
not speed.
Well, exactly. That's exactly right. Exactly right. Well, I mean, I think, Suzanne, that's a great point to end the conversation on. Thank you so much for the chat today. It's been a pleasure, as always, to talk to you.
Well, look, thank you for having me here. And I'm really excited about your business because, from my perspective, slightly off piece, recruitment should be one of the most personal things done in the business. And AI right now is binning a load of CVs, and a load of
Yeah,
people are adapting their CVs to match jobs. But what they're not doing is
that's
matching
true.
personalities and business values. So I wish you all the success with this next venture.
Oh, amazing. Thank you, Suze. Really appreciate that.
Bye for now.
Bye.